Welcome everybody to another episode of Up Your Experience podcast. It's me, that BlaiseMcBaine guy, and with me
Well,
today, it's Boss. Boss, what's up, dude?
I am Burb.
You're a burb.
I'm Burb.
Yeah, just so we're clear, we're recording this at 2:39 a.m. my time. So what are you guys gonna get? I don't know. But we're here to talk about one thing, and that's New World.
Yeah.
So this isn't gonna
1
be your
year
typical
later.
episode. Yeah, 1 year later. This isn't your typical episode. This isn't your, games of the week, all that fun stuff. We're here to talk about New World and what it's like a year later.
Yeah.
Some would say it's a whole new world, boss. Some would say it's a whole new world.
Yeah. I hate that pun, but it's not wrong because it feels like a new game.
It does. It feels like what it should have been.
The main point I'm gonna make, they fixed a lot of stuff that they needed to. They made leveling a lot easier. I mean, I hit. Let me look at my Steam hours real quick because my level 41 character, not even max. I guarantee you, around launch, it would have taken me at least another 60 hours to hit 60. And I think I had about 120 hours when I started playing again. 80 hours in, I am level 60, and a couple of my gear pieces are already expertise 540 and stuff, and that's with me like AFKing for a little bit, over here and then. Like it's not all active playtime. So they've made leveling and just playing the game in general a lot easier. One thing they also did, they optimized the actual hell out of it.
Yeah, so boss's computer doesn't go like
Yeah.
they make it create. I'm so mad. Discord cut that sound effect. I know it did. I know it did.
So one of the crazy things, if you don't know, around the time New World launched, that had been, the 30 series for graphics cards had been out for a couple months, I believe. And people were playing New World, and it fried their CPUs, or not their CPUs, their GPUs. It turned out to be a soldering issue, but they came out and said the only reason that this soldering issue would have actually mattered is if it were overclocked. So the fact that New World was forcing 3090s to overclock, I feel like has to say something.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Not good. Not good.
And also, when like every New World YouTuber ever has to make videos on how to optimize your settings, that also is a red flag.
No, I was gonna say there is still the issue of like when I was playing yesterday on stream, like my stream will freeze if I try to load into a city.
Yeah,
Like there's still that like
that is
that
the big
CPU
issue.
transfer issue that happens.
So when you load into a city, basically what happens is all of the like hard pushing work, graphical wise, is pushed onto your CPU out of nowhere. And it's a dumb system, and I don't know why their engine does it, but it does, and they need to fix it because I run at, and I'm using a joke that I saw in World Chat the other day. Whenever you load into a city, you start running at 28 frames per week.
Yeah.
So
That feels that way too.
Pretty bad.
That's actually an issue on the Steam Deck. Is loading into cities. They're like, if you're gonna log into on your Steam Deck, make sure you're not in a city when you log in.
Really?
As someone that recently got a Steam Deck and was so excited to play New World on it, fun fact, I can't on my internet unless I hotspot to my phone because it needs to be on a 2.4 gigahertz band to play New World specifically. God, I'm not gonna get into that because it makes me mad. Yeah, that's like one of the issues that they brought up. But I mean, that's one of the cool things is you can play New World on the Steam Deck, which is sick.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, it feels pretty natural.
Yeah, I've heard like different things. I've seen some people say like you can play the game as is. I've also seen some people like complain that they can like just harvest and they can't really do combat. And I'm like, well, what kind of combat were you trying to do? Like, if you're trying to do large scale PvP, like obviously that's not going to run super great on the Steam Deck, um, because it's really demanding just on a PC in general, having that many things go off at a time.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it's still not like as optimized as I feel like it could be, but the fact that the recommended when it launched was a 2080 Ti, and now the recommended on the Steam store page is a 960. They've made progress, a lot of
Yeah.
progress, because that's like 2 years or 2 or 3 years worth of downtime in between those two graphics cards. So,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
and that's part of the things I think we're frustrated out of closed alpha beta is that
yeah,
those things could have been not necessarily fully dealt with, but like they were in the know of those things. And a lot of the things
for
that
sure.
are now fixed that we enjoy were feedback from before the game released.
Yeah,
Um,
as much as I'm gonna give New World praise for becoming a playable game now, this should have been done a year ago. This is how the game should have launched.
and I can say like, okay, we can scratch some of the things out of that. For instance, like Blunderbuss, Great Sword, Void Gauntlet not being there at launch, not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
Should it
that's
have
fine.
taken a full year to get those three weapons out? Not so sure about that either. But like we knew about the blunderbuss before we stopped playing the game, and like it still hadn't released, and we'd been playing for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So
We didn't know
that's
about
frustrating.
Greatsword, but Void Gauntlet, if I remember, did launch before we stopped playing. So that
No,
was a plus.
it
Did it
did
not?
not.
I'm pretty
Nope,
sure it did. Or at
didn't.
least like
We knew about it.
was coming in the next patch.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. I don't
Got
know. I just know like we didn't have any of those weapons, and feels bad.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely felt bad. Which I'm gonna bring this up and you're gonna hate me for it, but still no word on daggers.
Yeah, that's fine. I still think it's
uh
weird that you only one hand a hatchet, but whatever, dude. Like I'm not. It's
yeah.
just strange. Just strange. But I will like I guess the thing to talk about is like not only did they do all these things to optimize the game and make it better, but the big thing they did is they brought back what they call or they brought fresh start worlds into the game. And basically what that is there's a brand new server. You go to it, you cannot take your old character there. You start a brand new character. It's literally a fresh start. But I mean, they changed the whole entire beginning of the game in the way like the story quest runs. I mean, and there's cinematics at
There
certain parts now. There's
yeah.
like voiceovers everywhere and
There
everything.
is there's one point that was a major, major complaint at launch that I will bring up that I can tell that they've made effort to fix. Enemy diversity. There was
Yep,
none. The
there was
first
none at
40
launch.
levels of the game, you fought the same 3 types of enemies with the same attacks, the same everything. The only
Hmm.
difference that you got were dungeon bosses. It was bosses, because even then the bosses would be reskinned to be bigger elite enemies.
Yep.
And that just feels bad. Like at that point, you feel like you've been scammed, and it's like, I could have made this in 6 months. Like what? Huh? You know? Like it's reusing. I think there might have only been about 6 models for each of the 3 factions. You got 18 enemy models in total in the first 40 levels of the game, which took about 100 hours.
Yeah,
I
and I will
don't
say
understand
diversity is better. Diversity is
that.
better.
Yes.
Could it be even better? Yes. But we have seen things like if you go through Amarine, like the first dungeon, like they redid
Uh-huh.
the whole first boss and like he looks sick.
Yeah.
Um, there's also like enmity diversity among the corrupted a little bit more. Giant turkey because we also finally have events in the game
Yeah.
because like that wasn't a thing. Because I remember when at launch I was like, surely they do like a Christmas event.
Yeah, nope.
No.
No.
Which we are getting one this year. We are getting a like a winter event. We just got done
Winter
having a turkey
Soldier,
event.
I believe, is
So
the event boss.
I do like that. I like that we're getting events finally with like diverse enemies and not only just enemies but also move sets. I think that's pretty sick. There's also like really cool opportunities for items like the turkey event, the turkoloin or whatever it's called. I call it the turducken.
Yeah,
Um,
Turkulon, I
it
believe.
gives you this like skinning dagger. You have to be level 15 to use, but it gives you 640%
So
skinning speed, which is
I
insane.
I personally yesterday just hit 150 engineering. I made myself orichalcum tools. I can say for a fact the Turkulon dagger is better than the orichalcum skinning knife.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy
And it
because
and it's only available during the event. It'll go away
yes,
after the event's
it'll
over.
go away
So,
after the event. You cannot get another one if yours breaks, which mine is close to breaking, which is slightly scary. But hey, I already hit max skinning off of it, so who cares?
yep,
Um, all right, there's probably one more big point that I want to talk about.
yep.
Uh, AGS, why is there no swimming animation yet? Hmm? Huh?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
character's origin story is that he's a sailor. Why can't he
Yeah.
swim in a river?
He
Why do
uses
I drown in a
floaties, dude.
river?
Floaties.
Floaties didn't exist back then, Blaise. That just didn't
Flo-
it didn't happen. I'm
what do
pissed.
you
Anyways, the real point that we need to talk about. Um, I have a
There's
bunch
also
of
no
time.
mounts. There's also no mounts.
There's no mounts, but they have also made effort. They reduced the fast travel cost by a lot. It's like
Considerable
basically
amount.
free. They
Yeah.
added more fast travel points. They gave you haste on roads. It's a lot better, and they have announced kind of under the rug right now because it's not on their roadmap, which we'll probably talk about later. Um, that they've kind of like slipped under the rug, leaked a little bit of things, but I'm 90% sure that they're working on mounts.
And I personally don't care if there's mounts or not. I don't. I mean, I
Neither
think
do
the
I.
fast travel's fine. Haste is easy to come by.
Yeah.
Overall, like I'm not that bothered by it. It's
Now,
just one of those things. Like if you at the game's launch, there were fewer fast travel points, and Azoth was like
if you were
it
close
was
to
so
max bag, it would be a tenth of your maximum Azoth that you could carry,
yeah, and
which was
Azoth was like
1,000. And
hard
as
to come
Azoth
by.
was hard to find, you had to use it for crafting and fast traveling. So crafters were absolutely screwed because they had to infuse their crafts with Azoth, but they couldn't get anywhere.
Yep.
Also another thing they did is like a small point. The storage system, they overhauled that. Um, Storage is now you can access it. You can pull anything from anywhere without having to pay any gold. You can put stuff anywhere from anywhere without issue at all. The only thing you have to manage is your weight and actually remembering where you put things, which
Yeah.
that's not the game's. I mean, the game already kind of sorts it into tabs like crafting, woodworking, smithing, whatever. So it already sorts it into tabs for you. You just kind of have to find which city you put it into. Um, which I think it could be a little bit better. I think that you should be able to look in your entire storage. I don't think it should be city related. Or if it is city related, you should have a tab to view like search in all cities
Yeah.
and search for the item you need because having to go through every single city, which I've unlocked, like because outposts count as well, like
Oh,
forts.
really? That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it sucks because I have to scroll through like 30 cities, and I'm like, I where is it? Where is my 2,000 charcoal that I had to stuff somewhere else because it's 300 pounds? Where is it? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I was gonna say
I lost it.
because you've hit 60. I'm like 34, which I mean is
Yeah,
I think a higher level than I was when I stopped playing
I
because
think
like
so.
it was such the grind was so awful
It was
when the game
bad.
came out.
Yeah.
Like the new grind is like at least bearable, and not I mean bearable is like a bad statement. Like it's not bad. Like you don't even have to side quest really. You can just run the main story and be fine. Now
Yeah.
The side quest will stay on your map, which is a thing
Slightly
that I
irritating. I
that's
wish there
slightly
was a
irritating.
like a
That's
little checkbox that you could put like toggle side quests off.
Yeah, and there might be, we just don't know. I mean, like we might have just not seen it, but
I have looked extensively. There's not.
but that is one thing I'd like to go away.
Um, that kind of brings us to the next point. Uh, um, I have a lot of time personally just pour into the game. You don't. So, how has your experience been like kind of not having a lot of time to put in, and how do you think like leveling is for people who don't have a lot of time?
So, I guess let's preface this in a couple different ways. A, do I have enough time where I could have hit 60 by now? Yes.
Yeah,
Um my problem is, and this is something I've been kind of debating over the past couple days, is like I obviously play a lot of Smite. Like I'm a content creator for Smite. I cast, I stream it, I play it competitively, and
right.
I've hit like this kind of like weird burnout phase where like I want to play other games that make me just happier at the moment.
Yep,
Not
I've
that
had that
Smite's
multiple
super
times.
bad, but like the past week of Smite has been very rough for me to the point like I've been feeling tilted, and if I'm feeling tilted, that's probably not good. So I would like to stream things like New World, but I also know like streaming New World when you're not max level is not super entertaining to watch because it's not like I can really go do PvP.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not like PvP is not really available. You're just questing. There's not any high level dungeons. Like, there's no tension. People are just kind of like
yeah.
watching you run around the map and
So
doing stuff.
that's really what's held me back more than anything. So that I guess that's what I want to preface beforehand. It's not that I haven't had the time to like level because like
Right.
obviously if I just streamed it, I would be level 60. Um, hamburger cheeseburger on that front. So I will say like I started it. I think we started it last week is what we did like during the week of Thanksgiving. So I
Yeah.
started up. I was like, yo, this is like me and Kenny started. And I was like, yo, this feels a lot better. And I think if it wasn't for me being an idiot, like I was side questing because that's what you had to originally do, and then the next thing I know, like I'm like way like many levels ahead of the story quest
Yeah, I think
early
you're
on.
finally caught up. You're like, because the main quest taking you to Weavers right now, right? Weavers
Yeah,
Fen.
like I'm finally like on
Yeah,
level or like a
you're
level ahead, not like 5 to 6 levels ahead.
right.
So that's part of it. I think them changing the syndicate to be, or well, we went syndicate, but the factions to
Faction.
be part
Yeah.
of the storyline and like go off and do that is pretty interesting. So I do like that part. But overall, like I mean, I think it's fine. Like I think if you don't have a lot of time to play, it's still an MMO that you can play and have a good time on, and it's just going to take you a little bit longer to reach max level, which that's the same for any MMO in that sense.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you don't have this like feel of needing to be on there daily to grind out things. Hashtag wow. Um,
Yeah. Right.
the one thing to talk about is like obviously crafting wise, you can craft things daily, and I'm sure there's daily quests to go do that are pretty good. But like, I don't
Yeah.
have this inherent like need to be on there every day, so that part's kind of nice as someone that's going to play it more casually. My hope is once I hit level 60, like I'm going to try to get into PvP and do that, and I think it'll be pretty good. But the leveling system is obviously drastically better. The story and actually having a story and having a voiceover that comes in that's part of the corrupted storyline throughout the beginning of the game and there and so on going through it is drastically better than what we had at launch. The
Yeah.
fact that you can get every weapon like pre-level 10 in the starting area is huge. Like I don't know why that wasn't a thing
I
during
I
the original
don't know
game.
why it was RNG based
Yeah, like the
off
fact
of
because now
like a couple weapon crates at level 10. Like I didn't
I
understand
don't
that
know.
whatsoever.
Now you can be like, hey, you can choose how you want to play the game from the very beginning, pretty much. And
Mhm.
I think that's how you should be able to play an MMO. And it doesn't like hamper you to switch weapons, at level 20, you want to play a different weapon. That's fine. It's not going to hinder you to do so. Obviously, you're going to have to level it a little bit to get 3 abilities, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, I think that change alone like felt way better. I think that's one of the besides like obviously filling out the story, adding voice overs and things like that. I think that's one of the changes that does feel really good, is allowing you to choose the way you want to play early on. So it's not like last time where, you haven't seen a Frost Gauntlet until you're like level 20, and then you get it and you're like, "Oh man, this is pretty sick, but I've like specced into all these other things. I've been playing this way the whole time."
Yeah.
And it feels bad.
And at that
Obviously that
point,
could still happen.
you're level like 22 or something, and now you're respec if you want to go full intelligence because you finally got the weapon you wanted. It costs
Yeah.
gold now. And
Hmm.
the economy was very, very, very bad at launch. Very
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. I will say that I think the economy is makes way more sense now.
I think
Um,
it's better.
I don't think it's like the best it could be, but I do think it is better overall.
Yeah.
It's a definitely healthier for the game. The other thing I do like that they've added that I don't fully understand is I do like that they've added like musical instruments and that you can get buffs off of like songs being played in town. I think that's super sick.
Yeah.
Um,
So I haven't delved into music whatsoever. I have one instrument equipped, and that's the one that you get from a side quest that I did. Um, so my experience is very little, but from what I understand, you collect musical notes like
mhm.
blueprints to
Yep.
play a song. You unlock said song for a certain instrument. There's 5 in total. Can't name them all. I know there's drums. I know there's a mandolin. I know there's a guitar. Blah blah blah. Um. Anyway, um. So each song has a different type of buff it provides, and you have a music skill. It's a trade skill. And depending on how well you play the song, it increases the effect, and it give you money because if you play a song in town or near someone, they can tip you to get the benefit as well.
Yep.
And I think that tip someone it's like 10 gold. So it's not a it's not like a, oh, I'm gonna give you 50 cents for this, you know, 75% harvesting buff for an hour. Like it's a reasonable amount of gold for a buff that you know
I would say the
is
buffs
not
are
amazing.
really good. Like
Yeah,
that's like it's a definitely a buff to take.
yeah,
So
for
I do
sure.
like that. I think it's just an interesting thing to bring into the game and allows just another aspect of the way people want to play, or like something for them to do. So I
Yeah,
do like that.
the way I see it, this is the best I can describe it. Trophies are something you can put in your house once you own one that provides your character with permanent buffs as long as you pay for your house and the trophy's still in your house. Um, Permanent buffs that will follow you wherever you go. I see those as temporary trophies for early game players.
Yeah, I mean, that's
That's what
what
I
they
see
are
music as. Yeah.
for sure. So I think
Um,
overall, like the beginning part of the game, and this is something they specifically focused on for the fresh start servers, was like the 1 through 25 experience is light years better than what it was a year ago. Like it's
for
not
sure.
even comparable in the sense of like, oh, like this and this, like they're very no, like it is like night and day, bro. Like it is it is so much better now that if you had told
Yeah.
me the old leveling experience existed, I'd have been like, yeah, I would have quit playing that game, which is exactly what I did.
Yep.
Um, I think now that I've hit 30, like it's slowed down a smidge, but it still hasn't. It's not the slowdown we felt when the game launched. Like at launch, you hit
Yeah.
like 20, and the 20 to 30 felt awful.
The
And
20 to
then
30, the 20 to 25 consisted of you doing the main story as much as you could and then just completing every side quest you could find.
yeah,
And then the
and
25
then
to 30 consisted of you running Amarah over and over and over again.
yeah, until you hit 30. And then you
Yep.
hit 30 and you're like, "Oh, surely it'll get better." And it's like, "No, you can go do these couple of quests."
Yeah, you can
Uh
go do these couple of main quests and then do side quests for the rest of your life until you hit 35, and then you just do Starstone over and over again until you
yeah,
hit
it was
45, and then you do Depths over and over again until you hit 55. And it's just, yeah,
it was just bad.
it was bad
It was just not good. So I think the new system is just drastically better.
for sure.
Um I think the dungeon experience was better from what I've messed with. The one thing I'm very and I talked to you and Gilly about this last night because Gilly's been playing with us.
Mhm.
Um, is they added Arena, which is a 3v3 PvP mode, and I have queued it. I queued it last night for an hour and didn't get a
Yeah.
single game. I think that is saddening from someone that enjoys like the PvP aspect. Like obviously, I'm queued like when I'm playing right now, like I'm flagged for PvP because it gives me extra XP. And I the first person I fought, I bopped, even though they had a ranged weapon. Like I closed the gap on them. Last night, I fought someone that was like playing with like a meta-ish build that was 3 levels ahead of me, and I killed them. And they came back for revenge and absolutely bopped me.
Yeah.
Um, but I do like that too. Like I like that I'm seeing more people willing to flag PvP that are in the lower levels that aren't just max. Because before when we played, like if you were flagged for PvP, it was because you're like level 55 and up or 50 and
Yeah.
up. Where and we would run around flagged. I would run around flagged anyway. I'm like, all right, well, come fight me. Like that's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so I do like that. I've seen that a bit more. I haven't got to mess with Outpost Rush to see if like those feel better yet. Um, but I think overall, like as a casual player, I think you can enjoy the game drastically more than what you could before. Um, and I think overall, like the game just feels better. I think there's several like different indicators of why. Like I enjoyed. Um, I haven't talked about this on the podcast because we didn't record. Last week was like the first time I think maybe ever, or if it's not the second time ever that we had to like cancel the show for the week due to some IRL stuff.
Mm.
With my wife, if you're watching that stream, I had to like it was bad, and I'm not going to get into that right now. Everything is fine now, so we're good. But I remember while I was waiting for my wife to call me while she was at the hospital, because I had to be home with the kids. Like I was fishing at 3 a.m. on New World, dude, just like trying to
Yep.
stay up and just relaxing, just fishing away. And you can hook like treasure chests and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And I just think the game just feels better. I don't
Yeah.
really. And I don't really know what else to point out. Like Amarine was sick. Like the last boss was awesome. Like it's way better.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't done the other dungeons yet. I think I'm really close to the next one, but I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm pretty close to it though. Um, I don't know. I feel like I said, I think everything feels better about it. Like if you told me the game a year ago was the same game it is now, I'd been like, wow, that game must have been early access. Like you know what I mean? Like
Right? Yeah.
and I feel like I feel like a dick for saying that because if you've been invested in New World for the past year, like that feels bad. And
Yeah.
I know that as someone that's been an MMO player like in Guild Wars 2, and I don't think there's ever been a point where Guild Wars 2 was particularly horrible. As a WW player, sure. There was times it was bad and like some switches made it worse, but it never was like so bad that you're like, "Oh man, this improvement if it didn't exist in the game when I first started playing would have made me not play it."
Yeah.
Where I think there's things and obviously there was that were in the original game that are fixed now that if you told me like when I first started playing, I would have quit like I did. So
Yeah.
I am excited. I think the direction the game is going is good. I'm a little bit concerned about something we saw yesterday, which was a legacy server being merged into a fresh start server.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't think that's a good look on Amazon's part. I think that's a bad decision.
I think
Um,
here's my take on that.
yep.
I think the reason they did is I here's my honest opinion. I think legacy servers are dying out PvE wise. I think
Oh yeah,
PvP in legacy
100%.
servers is still alive and well. I don't think that's the issue. I think that they merged a PvE server with a fresh start server because it was just PvE players. There was no PvP players, so they're like, how much harm could it do? And I don't think the change has been in effect to hear people's complaints or people be like, actually, this isn't as bad as we thought. Oh well, you know.
Right.
I don't think it's that big of a deal unless I'm wrong and it was a PvP server that got merged into a fresh start. I think that is a big goof, and I think that's gonna bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
big time.
I don't know which it was. I just think that's an absolute blunder. And why not put the legacy server with another legacy server?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue. Like they could have just merged it with another legacy server and it would have been fine. But mixing it with a fresh start server where these legacy servers obviously could have reached higher spec gear, so on and so forth,
Yeah.
during their time causes a problem. I do think that's a bit of an issue. I rambled a good bit there for a little bit. So the only other thing I want to bring up that actually bothers me is the fact that on the store that you spend real money on, there are dies. And when you buy those dies, they are 5 use. That's it. You get 5 uses and that is it. Gone. That is stupid. If I
Yeah.
pay real money for a die, which I'm not going to do, but if I did, it should be unlimited.
Yeah, it seems kind of weird. I know a couple other games that do this. They offer like color changers,
Oh yeah, for
whatever the
sure.
form that comes in, and it's
Yeah,
not unlimited, and you have
stupid.
to. But most of the time, those games will have like, oh, but there is a PVE way of obtaining these. Like it's not
Right,
just
right,
a
right.
cash job.
Yeah.
In New World's case, there's premium dies that you can only get from the store, which is kind of yikes. The fact that they're not unlimited.
Yeah, I just think they should be unlimited. I just think
Yeah.
that's really like my main like my only like huge gripe at the
Yeah,
moment besides swimming out emotions. I think everything else is like it's
yeah.
moving in a positive direction. So I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I have these negatives to bring about." Obviously, there's still work for them to do. The game can get better.
Yeah.
But I think it is moving in the right direction. And this is what we talked about last year. Was like, "Man, give the game 6 months to a year and it's going to be really good. It's going to be better." The big problem
Yeah.
for them right now is a WoW XP just released and that's going to hurt
Yeah.
your player numbers a good bit. I think is Final Fantasy have another one coming out soon? Final Fantasy might have another X pack coming out soon too.
I think
Um,
that'll hurt them more than WoW.
yes, it
I
will.
think because I think Final Fantasy 14 is the biggest MMO on the market right now.
It
It
is.
overtook WoW the moment that Blizzard drama hit, for sure.
Well, no, it was already on the way. Like that, if you haven't played Final Fantasy, like it is good. Like it,
Yeah.
it is so good. Like I used to play it with a group of people, but they would just out level me, and then they'd be like, "I'd be like, oh, can I get help with this dungeon?" Like they're like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's sick." They're like, "Well, they made it where you can run it with NPCs." I was like, "Yeah, but that takes forever. Like, why can't you guys just come spend like 10 minutes and run it with me since we play as a group?"
Yeah.
Shouts to those people. But
Mhm.
that game is really good. It just has no PvP. Like it's just non-existent.
Yeah.
It's just well, it exists, but it is very bad. Very, very bad.
Yeah.
Um, so but I do think we're moving in the right direction, and that's what really matters.
I agree.
And I do like some of the changes that were made to like the idea of the new weapons, like greatsword. That's another thing I have a problem with. Greatsword's running animations very bad. There's no way a person would run like that with a sword, a greatsword.
Yeah. It's
Unless it's made
odd.
of plastic. It's a very just odd stance. I'd rather them like running it with it dragging. But anyway, that's
Yeah,
just
and
a me
that's
gripe.
what you do in offensive stance. Is
Yeah,
you kind of drag it with you.
yeah.
Defensive stance, I don't know if you've seen that running. It looks dumb.
I'm sure it
You
does.
literally hold it like you're jousting.
Yes, dude. Call me
Except
Lance a
like
lot, dude.
except like over your shoulder.
Oh
So like
God, no.
yeah, yeah, no. It
Like
just
you're fencing. You're
yeah.
fencing with a greatsword. Oh, sign me up, dude. What a dumb thing. What so dumb.
It is weird. It's not that big of a deal. I personally don't care. I just think it's funny because
I think
no
it just looks
human
bad.
ever
Yeah,
would be able to do that with a supposedly 70-pound sword, if not
right.
more. Like there's just no way.
I, what I did want to mention is we didn't talk about the new weapon. Like we mentioned what they are, but like the new weapons are really good.
Yeah. Greatsword just came out a couple weeks ago with the fresh start servers. I want to say
I
because
think
I
so.
think
Yeah, they've
either
only
with
been out for
that
like a
or
month.
Brimstone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um. So that has a couple balancing issues that I'm sure they're working on. but greatsword is slightly OP right now.
It does feel good.
But that's really the only balancing issues they have right now. Everything else is pretty evenly balanced, like surprisingly balanced for an MMO.
Yeah, I would say blunderbuss feels pretty good. I like that it's like a shotgun type of weapon.
Hmm.
There are some like interesting takes on that weapon. Like if you go the grenade strat with it, you need like if you're running with a group, I think that weapon is probably insane.
Yeah.
Running solo can be a little bit rough because you have to like really think about how you're going to use your shots for certain parts of the kit.
Mm.
And then Void Gauntlet's like OP and slept on, from my understanding. Like I've like if you run Life Staff, you just play Void Gauntlet and go burr.
Yep. I can confirm that. Some of the Void Gauntlet abilities are kind of really good for keeping your DPS alive that don't want to put in any points in con, which I will get to later.
Dude, why do you need Constitution? You're just trying to,
uh,
if they're
well, you know,
dead, then you win.
when you get one shot in Genesis and then start yelling at your healer, that's when it
Dude,
becomes a
just don't
problem.
get one shot. Just dodge, bro.
See, that would work if people knew how to dodge late game,
Oh my god.
but they don't. Uh, anyways, myself as a player who has more time than I should, um, to throw at this game. If you're like a hardcore, like you're gonna take like a week off of work or something, to play this game, you'll hit level 60 in about 3 days. If you don't do the dumb stuff that I did because I wanted to be a crafter. Um, yeah, 2 to 3 days is the usual. If you just follow the main storyline, do some faction quests, spam dungeons, stuff like that. You'll hit it in a while, in a fair amount of time. Um, After that, the level 60 grind is a lot better. I watched a lot of videos. I didn't experience it personally, but on launch, the expertise grind, which is basically, if you guys know Destiny, is basically the gear level grind in Destiny, except worse because it's a gear level grind for every single type of item. So your helmet, your gloves, your boots, your legs, your chest all have different gear expertise, as well as all 3 slots for your jewelry, as well as each individual weapon. They all have expertise that you need to get all of them up to 600 if you want to be able to do anything. If you want to be a completionist, you have to get them all to 600, and then after that, right now at least, you have to farm umbral shards, craft them up to upgrade stuff to 625, and that's when late game, like you have hit the max gear score, go do these dungeons because they're very hard. Um, that's kind of the progression after 60. The expertise grind, from what I've seen, started really, really slowing down as soon as you started it. Um, It's basically you just sit at one boss and some like Reek Water or Ebon Scale somewhere. And there's like 40 other players that you're fighting for drops against. On this one very easy to kill world boss. This like random elite mob. Um, and that's who you would farm for until you hit 600 gear scar and all the stuff you wanted to. It was bad. It was really, really bad. A lot of people were like, "This isn't fun. Why am I playing this game?" And a lot of people quit at 60 because that was end game. There was nothing after that. The end game now is a lot better. Um, Basically, the first thing I did personally is well, not the very first thing. I did a couple of Genesis runs, which is level 60 dungeon. The you can do at like you know very beginning of level 60, I don't recommend it because those things hit hard, and you usually want to find decent gear that gives you the stats that you want, so you can kind of respec and put more points into Constitution so you don't get one shot. Because a boss hit usually does around 8,000 damage in that dungeon, and if you're a ranged player, they really like targeting ranged players with just random attacks. So just beware of that. So I did a couple Genesis runs with a friend, and then over the past couple days, I progressed myself through the DLC area, which is called the Brimstone Sands. Um, and there you get a lot of good gear. Like I'm talking, so basically at 60, you start at 500 gear score expertise. In the main quest and side quests of these of this DLC area, you basically get 610 to like or anywhere from 600 to 615 gear score legendary items that are not hindered by your gear expertise, which is crazy. So you can get them as drops from the elite mobs around the area. You can get them from the main quest, side quest, whatever. That's kind of what I'm working towards. I have my 605 life staff already, trying to get something called the Hand, which is like 615 void gauntlet, something like that. I mean, they're really good. Like they're really good weapons that you'll use until you get best in slot gear, or at least close to best in slot, up when you reach 600 expertise for that weapon. So it's a really good like early thing that you can get. Um, I've been soloing it a decent amount. I've had a little bit of help from people just roaming around, but there's a lot of people roaming around in Brimstone because it is the area to be at max level. Um, Also, just the area is just really well done. It's a mix of Rome and Egypt. The backstory is pretty good. It's basically Egypt aligned with Rome to sail for the land of reeds, the land of the gods. They found it in ruins. They basically built it back up. Romans got corrupted, wanted more and more. So the Egyptian gods turned them to stone, and then the corruption came, and that's basically the gist of what's happening.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. Uh, they've got a bunch of different enemies. They got like Roman soldiers. They've got um like stone people that have crazy abilities. Like it's hard to solo them. Maybe it's just because I'm a healer. I see people doing like a bunch of damage. I'm like, wow, maybe I should spec into strength. Um, Kind of makes me sad. But yeah, it even as a healer with no points into intelligence, it's just pure focus con. I've been able to solo most stuff I've come across if I pull it like smart, you know? Like
Hmm.
if I'm smart with, I only pull two enemies at once or something out of like the group of five, and I just kind of slowly and methodically go through the areas, try and get the boss solo. Um so I've been slowly progressing through the Brimstone Sands area. And then the other thing that they added to kind of lighten the load on the expertise area, which is it's a daily system. They're called gypsum orbs. So basically, you get these like you get emerald gypsum orbs, ruby, diamond, obsidian, all this stuff, and you get these for doing certain things, like certain different things at max level. Like obsidian is killing I believe a level 55 plus elite boss in the world.
Hmm.
You get a obsidian gypsum for that. You get 3 a day, which is enough to craft one gypsum orb, which you can then turn at a gypsum forge, I believe it's called. It's in most when you start getting the areas with outposts. It's in most outposts. Um, you can only access it when you're level 60. You get a lot from the Brimstone Sands area and just like doing quests in there in general. Um, and you can basically buy like a like a box for a certain type of gear, whether it be like rapier, greatsword, amulets, earrings, a helmet, whatever. And it's guaranteed to bump your gear score up by I think it's 3 to 10 level, which is really
Dang,
good. Yeah,
that is
it's
really good.
nice. I think the highest gear score bump I've gotten on drops is 8, and that's very rare. Most of the time, it's like +3, +4, +6. So it's still like a matter of luck whether you get 10 or not. But the first one I made, I believe, was like an 8 bump to one of my amulets. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
really
nice.
good. Yeah, that's
Um,
really good.
So, and there's a bunch of different ways you get that. There's PvP ones, there's stuff for
PvP.
harvesting. Unfortunately, the
That's one thing.
harvesting ones, the harvesting ones are the hardest one to get, in my opinion,
I was like, that's
because
one
of
thing
the
we need to talk
fact.
about is PvP. We'll talk about it in a second, though.
Yeah, harvesting basically you have to level up once you're already max level in a harvesting like skill. So
Yeah,
right now, for me, that's skinning and tracking. And it takes me a solid half hour, maybe, if I'm, like, off farming it to get it. If I'm, like, hard farming it, it'll take me about 20 minutes depending on who else is there farming at my spot. But it takes a while to get that, and that's for 1. So it'll take me about an hour if I'm hard farming it to get all 3, for the day. So that is a little bit of a grind, but there's a lot of other ways you can get them a lot easier. Like, farming for the obsidian gypsum, you get 1 gypsum ore per day for that. The PvP ones, you can queue outpost rush, you get each one for just participating in an outpost rush. I believe you can get 2 of those a day. And the ruby gypsum, I believe, is 3v3s, which,
don't exist.
yeah. So people probably don't go for that one, but
Maybe it's like based off of level requirement for the 3v3s.
maybe
I don't know. Still
that's
frustrating.
possible. Yeah. But overall, the level 60 experience has picked up. The last thing I want to mention is the end game is a lot better. So once you hit 625, the dungeons I mentioned, uh, everything from the level 45 dungeon and up, and in this recent update, or not update, the planned update that we're gonna get in December, or like something like that. I think it's December or spring or something. It's it's December. Um, Basically, you'll be getting Um, it'll be they're basically smushing Amarine and Starstone into one dungeon, and then they're going to add, if you are like a WoW player, the mythic tier of that, which is mutations. Basically, enemies get traits. They get a elemental type of damage. So like 50% of their damage will be converted into fire damage or something you might not have resistance to, something you have to spec into late game. Um, And obviously, mutations scale up the gear score to where you have to be about like somewhere around 625 with like the ward of that enemy, whether it be corruption ward, blight ward, angry earth ward, something like that. The enemy type of that dungeon, you in most runs you will have to have ward against. Which is fairly simple. You can kind of just find gear that has ward on it. But once you're at 625, you're going to be looking for best in slot gear, which means you're either going to be buying it from people, or crafting it, which kind of comes in tandem when you think of best in slot gear. You're like, I'm either buying this off someone for a lot of money, which means I'm going to have to gold farm, or I have to make it myself.
Yeah,
Um,
which
Thankfully,
is
there's yeah,
good in some ways because
it
like you have
makes
some games
sense.
like in Guild Wars, like you have some stuff you can't craft for other people. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I think that does feel good.
But, like, there is a actual end game to progress towards because it's on a weekly rotation on what dungeons are available for mutations. Um, they give you time to kind of like prep, like if you start recognize the pattern, like, oh, this week is, gonna be Depths, Tempest, Lazarus, then you can prepare for that or whatever, like whatever, 3 you want to do.
Yeah.
So they give you time. And I think it's just kind of nice in general to have that kind of hard tier, like hardcore PvE aspect of a game, you know.
Yeah, I
And
think that is good.
you know, did they rip it off of WoW? Yeah, they did. They like it. It's
But what
basically
hasn't?
WoW Mythic Dungeons, but yeah, I mean, WoW is the granddaddy of all MMOs. Like you're not really gonna put something in your game and not have someone claim that it's copied from WoW. So
Yeah, I think that's just pretty much all
I
MMOs when you think about
yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure. So I do like a lot of the changes. And I don't really have much to complain about in terms of my experience so far. Um, yeah, I think the biggest thing that I complain about, which it wasn't a problem for me personally, but I see a lot of people in world chat asking, how do I join a faction? All this stuff
Yeah,
about like factions and like I just feel like the faction system isn't explained very well at all.
that's what I was gonna say. That's one thing. Like, I didn't pick my faction until like level like 23 because I just didn't know about the quest.
Yeah.
Uh, and we've seen people like level like 50 plus without factions because like
Yeah,
they don't know.
yeah. I've seen level 60s running around without a faction.
Yeah,
And it's rough because factions give you so much good stuff. They give you stuff for crafting, bags, they give you decent gear if you kind of like level with like I think at level 47 I had 490 gear.
yeah,
Which is really good. It's 10 away from the gear expertise that you start at level 60. Um, and it was gear that like gave me intelligence and focus, which is the main two stats that I was prioritizing. Um, so factions like on top of that, you have like decreased travel costs if you fast travel to somewhere your faction owns. Your fort buffs, which is also something new, which is interesting. They're not that big of a deal. They basically just give buffs. The main one that I've found, the main two, is you can place down a camp without needing to craft it. So it's just like an insta place, which is kind of just like a nice quality of life thing. But I think the biggest one is free fast travel.
ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very good. It's in Restless Shores. If any purples are listening, please try to keep that at all times because I need Azoth a lot. Please and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But yeah, it like factions give so much good stuff, and for it to just be reduced to literally just a side quest, a random side quest in Everfall, doesn't help. I don't know why they took it out of the main story. I get that people were complaining like this faction quest takes too long. I want to progress with the story, not have to do this PvP thing. But it's not just PvP. I think that a lot of people on launch didn't realize that it wasn't just for PvP. It
Yeah,
was for a
I agree.
lot of different things. It was for gear, it was for crafting because like there's a lot of good reasons why it was in the main storyline. And I think it only hurt all of the new players that had no idea what factions were. And it hurt a lot of the experienced players too cuz they're like they get rid of factions? Like where is it,
Right.
because they like everyone who played before knew that like factions were a huge part of the game. So why is it not in the main story? Like that's just not something that you reduce to a side quest. But they did. So it's it's rough. Um,
Well, they
and
added. I was say they added the for PvP. They added that like trek thing where you can like earn rewards by doing PvP from what you sent me too,
yeah, the PvP track.
which is pretty cool. Like by PvP, and you can like basically like a PvP like level or
It's a battle pass, basically.
rank,
It's
whatever.
like a
It's like a
mini
battle
battle
pass
pass. Yeah.
system, just for PvP.
Yeah, it
And I
has
think
its
that's
own
pretty cool.
currency called Azos Salt. You can get bundles of coins. You can get gear, um, all that kind of stuff. You can get emotes for a lot of the time. It's just kind of nice, you know. It's a nice little feature to add. Nice little cherry on top for PvP players. Um, Obviously, I can't talk about a lot of the like big events that people do. I've never been in a war. I've never been in an outpost rush. I've never done an invasion. So I can't really talk about those things. From what I've heard, invasions are pretty popular. Like people are like, please sign up for the invasion. We need people. Very cool. Come hang out. Blah blah blah. Well, I say popular. I kind of jumbled that a little bit. They're very like you have to go out of your way to do them, and I think a lot of people don't see like it worthwhile. Except like uh, the company that owns the place that's being invaded
Yeah.
because they don't want to degrade their stuff. Um, but from what I saw in like videos and stuff, invasions look pretty fun. I'm not gonna say whether they're good or not because I haven't done them personally.
Yeah, I've heard good things about them. And I've watched some on like streams and stuff. I mean, overall, I think
Yeah,
those still look better than what they were before too.
yeah. I mean, they like what they were before even looked good. Like it looked
Yeah,
sick, you know.
I think they're better I mean, my point is they're better optimized now. So I think
Yeah,
that's part
exactly.
of it. Is like is this runs better because like before, like it was like, hey, I want to go do this. Oh, it's crouch simulator for PvP. Like that. Remember the crouching thing that they would do? So and like I
You
don't
mean
think
that we
that's as
would
big
do?
of a thing. Yeah.
Okay, real quick, I have a
So I think that's
hilarious story
better.
to tell. So it was me, Gilly, Neff, and one of Bats's friends. We were in a group. We were flagged for PvP outside of First Light, and there was a death ball going around trying to push First Light into being able to declare war on them. Right, whoever owned it, which I think was us at the time. I think Covenant owned First Light. So they were. I think it was a group of marauders trying to push it for war. And what we were doing is we're basically hiding prone in bushes, waiting for the death ball to pass, and then picking them off at the back, like guerrilla tactics. It was the
Mm-hmm.
funniest thing ever because we were like yelling at them in like voice chat, kind of just like like trash talking like COD. Um, it, it wasn't like intentionally bad, but like it was funny. Um, Yeah, that was just that was a good day. That was a fun day.
Yeah, we used to do that like before I stopped playing. We would do like the pick off groups, even though I wasn't max level. We just go and like pick off
Yeah,
people in the group.
yeah,
It's just a good time. But no, I think the game overall is better. I think like the progress that's been made has been really good. I think that's up from here. They have a roadmap for spring 2023 and summer 2023.
yeah,
They're planning on adding the Empyrean Forge Expedition in the spring, along with a new gear set storage system, Springtide Bloom event, and MSQ improvements. And then for summer 2023, they're doing Transmog, raid groups, Sandworm Elite Trial, Cross World Outpost Rush,
yeah.
which is going to be interesting.
I think that's
Summer
gonna
Medley Fair event.
be really good. I
Yeah,
I, I think the Crossworld Outpost Rush is gonna be amazing for the game.
I think that's gonna I think that's gonna be really, really good for the game.
Yeah,
And then they said, like, obviously with each of these releases, there's gonna be new heart gem runes, quality of life improvements, and cinematics. Um, and I'm sure there's gonna be other things too, but these are like the main highlighted things they're bringing up.
yeah,
And I mean, we'll
and
see
then
where it goes.
yeah, this December, um, we're getting a event like a winter event,
Yep.
challenging new world boss, the Winter Warrior. You get skins, emotes, housing items, etc. and
It
they are
says here in
mashing up Amarah and uh
Starstone.
Starstone. Yeah,
Yeah, it says like the you go into like town, like you visit winter villages with like 10 to 15 people
yeah,
for this event. I think it's gonna be pretty good. I'm excited because
mhm,
I think these are the things that the game needed at launch. That's what we've been talking about. But
yeah,
I do think these things just are just going to help make it better. I think having a roadmap is always a good thing. Like letting your player base know what your plan is always good.
yeah. I agree. It's
Because
also builds hype up. It keeps them invested. Like, oh, in summer next year, there's gonna be a raid popping up because it says raid groups. Wow,
yep, yep,
I need to find gear for that raid. So it kind of gets them invested and keeps them playing basically because they're hyped up for what's coming next.
yeah. Overall, I'm excited. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to bring up. I hit all my points.
Yeah, I will say one thing about the roadmap. I've seen a lot of people in world chat be like, why is this roadmap only, why is it so short? Blah 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 blah. I'm like, I think people realize that's 6 months that they just told us. That's a lot
I
of
have this.
content.
Yeah, people just complain to complain, man. I tell this to
Um,
my students all the time. Like that, I can give them an easy assignment. They're going to complain. Like
yeah.
if people just like to complain. Does it do any good? No. Do they do it anyways? Yep.
Yep. And I sort of get the argument like, well, most world maps are a year long. You know, most road maps are, they go way in the future. But I think in the state and the past that New World has had, I think that they've learned their lesson for not promising too much.
Yeah.
Especially with the last part of the roadmap ending with a raid. I think it's really and cross world outpost rush. I think that's a lot of stuff to try, and maybe you have to push back a couple updates to like early, winter that were going to happen in fall because you had some issues with the raid with cross world outpost rush. There's a lot of things that go wrong with that you need to plan for. And I think that's what they're doing. I think they're finally planning on making mistakes instead of releasing an unfinished game or an unfinished something, unfinished feature and expect it to go off without a hitch. I think they're learning from their mistakes, which is good.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
and people need to shut up about the world roadmap being too small
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's literally 6 months. I don't get it. It's like,
You know,
yeah,
I was going to relate this to something that happened today in SPL, but I'm not going to because I'm not going to talk about other games. I'm just going to leave it at New World because I was going to be like,
this is New World.
this is New World.
This is the game we're talking about.
At least it doesn't crash during Pro League.
Ah,
And
yeah,
yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
yeah.
I don't have anything else though. Do you have anything else you want to bring up before we head out of here?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, that's it, peeps. Shout outs to actually I do have one shout out I need to do. And I'm gonna do this tomorrow on tomorrow's episode as well. Um Shout outs to Majabusha, man. He has the most listened to podcast episode in the history of the whole show of the first week. I mean, doesn't matter however you want to put it. Um with his the Majabusha podcast under the UpUrXP brand. So shout outs to him for that. Uh, Pretty awesome stuff. He's gotten over and was on like Kyle Kerm's show on YouTube and stuff and
Oh,
doing NFL
nice.
picks. Just really awesome. So shout outs to him on the way out. And let's head on out of here.
Heck
Bye.
yeah. Later.